Welcome back to The Explainer. So, have you ever felt like you're just constantly missing life's most obvious signals? Well, today, we're diving into a genuinely compelling homily by Father Joel Jomers's Gates. It's all about why we are just so incredibly blind to the signs that are literally placed right in front of us.
I mean, seriously, why do people touch wet paint? Think about it for a second. You see a massive, brightly colored sign that explicitly says wet paint, do not touch. And yet, what's the very first thing people do? They walk right up, touch it, and then act completely shocked that the paint is, actually wet.
This actually perfectly illustrates a pretty hilarious story Father Joel shared. Imagine a guy walking into a coffee shop, right? He sees a big sign on the counter, Wi-Fi password, buy first. So, for 10 minutes straight, he's typing BUYFIRST. He tries lowercase, all caps, thrown in numbers. Finally, he just angrily calls the staff over, and the cashier simply looks at him and says, "Sir, did you buy anything yet? That's not the password, that's the instruction." It just goes to show how often we read things without actually processing what they mean.
Which brings us to Section 1, Missing the Obvious Science.
Because we do this constantly in our day-to-day routines. We touch the wet paint, we aggressively yank on a door that clearly says push, and then get frustrated when it doesn't budge. Or think about drivers who see a pedestrian lane and instead of slowing down, they actually speed up. Father Joel makes a really brilliant observation here. We aren't lacking reminders or clear instructions in life. Not at all. We are just kind of stubborn.
Moving on to Section 2, Demanding Miracles from God.
So there's this striking contrast when we look back at biblical history. The Pharisees demanded these spectacular signs from Jesus, lightning bolts from heaven, the skies dramatically opening up, a whole cinematic show. But they completely ignored what Jesus had already given them. The blind were seeing, the sick were healed, thousands were fed from absolutely nothing, and the dead were raised. They were just so fixated on their own specific expectations of a miracle that they completely ignored the actual world-changing miracles happening right in front of their faces.
And that brings us to this absolutely profound realization from Father Joel. He says it's not evidence that is lacking, it's faith and humility that are lacking. Really think about that for a second. Even if 100,000 miracles were performed right in front of you, a closed, proud, and stubborn heart will remain entirely blind to every single one of them. We claim we want proof, but honestly, what we really want is control over how that proof is delivered.
All right, Section 3, How God Actually Speaks.
Lord, give me a sign. Should I resign? Wow, how many of us have begged God for a clear sign about our jobs, our relationships, or our personal struggles, while our actual lives are secretly just falling apart? We ask for a booming voice from the sky to give us a direct answer because, let's be real, we desperately want an easy way out from our internal turmoil.
But here's the thing. The signs are likely already there. Father Joel points out these physiological and environmental red flags that we just breezed past. Constant physical exhaustion, high blood pressure and relentless headaches, a restless, heavy conscience that keeps you up at night, or even comments from concerned friends who pull you aside to say, "Hey, you just don't look happy lately." God is literally using our own bodies and our communities to tell us to slow down.
In fact, sometimes God's sign is simply your exhaustion. We tend to view our burnout as just a normal part of the daily grind, right? Something we just have to power through. But from a spiritual perspective, that extreme fatigue is often a divine signal directly telling us to stop sacrificing our well-being, our peace, and our families over our work.
The core truth here is that God rarely uses lightning. We expect the heavens to open up with a booming, cinematic voice, but his actual guidance is quiet, clear, and intensely physical. He whispers through our tired bodies, our restless conscience, and the people who truly care about us.
This leads us to Section 4, Listening to Your Body.
Father Joel lays out 3 really urgent warnings that we absolutely must heed. Number 1, don't wait to collapse before you finally decide to rest. Number 2, don't wait for your family life to completely fracture before cutting back on your work hours. And number 3, don't wait to lose your faith entirely before returning to God. You see, he doesn't send these signs to scare you, he sends them to save you from a crisis of your own making.
Consider this profound anatomical observation. You have 2 eyes, 2 ears, but only 1 mouth. This is a physical reminder built right into our biology. We are meant to look and listen twice as much as we speak. It makes so much sense. Our constant inner noise, our complaining, and our nonstop talking actively prevent us from understanding the very signs we are begging for.
Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, the call to repentance.
So what is the ultimate sign then? Well, it's the sign of Jonah. This is a theological concept that demands true repentance, deep humility, and a genuine turning back to God, rather than just waiting around for spectacular magical miracles to fix our lives. Just as Jonah spent time in the darkness to reflect and change his course, Jesus offered this internal transformation as the only sign necessary for a stubborn generation that completely refused to listen. He was basically asking them to look inward instead of just looking up at the sky.
Ultimately, an unrepentant life is an ungraced life. We simply cannot expect blessings and miracles if we stubbornly remain in our destructive habits and ignore the guidance we've already been given. The real miracle in your life begins the exact moment you practice humility, ask for forgiveness, and actually obey the signs that have been quietly guiding you all along.
So I'll leave you with this question. What is your body telling you right now? Seriously, take a moment today to stop talking, start listening, and pay attention to those obvious signs you've probably been missing all along. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and we'll see you next time.